Are you a fan of the Ronettes? The ultimate girl group of the 60s was formed by the singer Ronnie Spector. The group made worldwide rock and roll hits like Be My Baby and Walkin' in the Rain. Lead singer Ronnie Spector married the producer of the Ronettes, Phil Spector, in 1968. Phil was the sole manager and producer of the group throughout the 60s. However, when Phil's career took a downgrade, the marriage of Ronnie Spector became an actual horror movie. The memoir she wrote later on in life reveals all the painful details of the horrible marriage. Join Facts First to learn about how the marriage of Ronnie Spector almost killed her. Ronnie was born in 1943 in New York City. She was a mixed child with an Irish father and her mother from African American and Cherokee descent. Back then, it was not so common to be mixed. That's why she suffered a lot from bullying. Ronnie also had an older sister, Estelle. Their father left the family when they were little kids. Eventually, her childhood struggles and exotic looks became the fueling force for her successful career. From a young age, Ronnie loved to perform in their living room. Later on, she formed a group with her older sister Estelle and their cousin Nedra Talley Ross. The group was named the Ronettes, an abbreviation of their names. They started playing small gigs in different parts of New York City. By 1961, they signed with Colpix Records and released their double-sided singles. Those singles were I Want a Boy, What's So Sweet About Sweet 16, and I'm Gonna Quit While I'm Ahead and My Guiding Angel. However, they didn't achieve much success. To continue their career, they focused on working in clubs as dancers. They developed a style around bold clothing and extravagant makeup. By 1963, the Ronettes still had not found much success with Colpix Records. This is when Ronnie Spector and her bandmates decided to make a bold decision. They cold-called the legendary producer Phil Spector. He was surprised and impressed by the compatibility of Ronnie's voice with his wall of sound technique. He used this technique to write songs for the most influential artists, including Tina Turner and the Beatles. Phil signed the Ronettes immediately after their first audition. The overall vibe of the group was described as bad girls listening to hard rock. Throughout his career, Phil wrote 28 singles for the Ronettes. Under his direct supervision, particularly from 1963 to 66, the Ronettes enjoyed one of the most successful periods of their careers. They joined the Beatles for their U.S. tour at the band's request. The girls also played on military bases for American soldiers who were said to have gone crazy over their provocative and sexy outfits. Despite the tremendous success, luminous parties, and chart-breaking hits, Phil Spector's career started to decline by the end of 1966. With the retirement of their hitmaker, the Ronettes disbanded. However, Ronnie Spector had no intention of burning bridges with Phil. They fell in love while working together and got married April 14, 1968. Ronnie moved in with Phil Spector into his LA mansion, but the marriage turned very bitter later on. Keep watching to find out more about that, and before you do, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First for more. Phil Spector was hugely affected by the failures of his career. As a result, he experienced tremendous stress and deep depression. Later on, he started to display some symptoms of severe bipolar disorder. Ronnie wrote everything about her horrible married life in her 1990 autobiography, Be My Baby, How I Survived Mascara, Miniskirts, and Madness, or My Life as a Fabulous Ronette. In her book, Ronnie describes her husband's scary and inadequate behavior that started at the very beginning of their matrimony. She recalls how she had to hide in the bathroom with her mom during the wedding day because Phil was drunk and had an argument about money with Ronnie. He accused her of marrying him to get his money. Ronnie specifically described him as a coyote with bulging eyes and saliva dripping down the sides of his mouth. Understandably, her mother became quite concerned about her choice of a husband. After they were married, Phil controlled every second of Ronnie's life. She was even unable to move around her own house freely. As she describes, she felt like a complete prisoner in a multi-million-dollar house. And even if their relationship was fine for a while, Phil still seemed very weird and eccentric. To claim his control over Ronnie's life, Phil bought an inflatable version of himself and made Ronnie keep it in the passenger seat. He also forbade her to speak to groups like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones about work-related questions, as he firmly believed Ronnie was cheating on him. However, Ronnie says one of the scariest things was that Phil revealed he kept a glass coffin in the basement and frequently threatened to kill her if she ever decided to leave him. He even went so far as to take away Ronnie's shoes so she couldn't leave home. The couple tried to get pregnant for several years, but their efforts failed. Phil and Ronnie ultimately decided to adopt a mixed-race child named Dante. Unfortunately, he also faced a lot of his father's crazy behavior. Later in his life, Dante revealed he was often locked up in his room with no opportunity to go to the bathroom. However, treating his child in such a brutal way was not Phil's only flaw. One year, he got Ronnie a shocking Christmas present: twins. He adopted 2 boys named Gary and Louis without asking for her opinion or permission. The worst part is that adopting the twins had nothing to do with his own love for children. Instead, having more children was a tactic to keep Ronnie in the house. All these events drove Ronnie to depression, and she began to use drugs to cope. She even attempted suicide on multiple occasions. During a particularly bad stint, she deliberately overdosed to stay in the hospital for a few days and enjoy a reprieve from her husband. Despite the hardships she had to go through, Ronnie Spector managed to produce a record with the Beatles called Try Some, Buy Some. Sadly, the single did not revive her career the way she imagined. After returning to the U.S. from England, she tried to get away from Phil Spector several times. Finally, on June 12, 1972, she was able to run from the house. In her book, she describes how Phil went crazy and again hid her shoes, thinking she couldn't leave barefoot. He again threatened to kill her if she ever thought of divorcing him. Then Ronnie's mother came to the rescue and started hitting Phil and shouting at him. Eventually, Ronnie and her mother escaped the house, taking Dante with them and leaving all their belongings behind. The next day, they went to a divorce lawyer, but the nightmare still wasn't over for Ronnie Spector. During the divorce process, Phil threatened to hire an assassin if she didn't sign the custody for the twins. Finally, after several months of deliberation, the divorce was finalized. Then, just when Ronnie thought she was free, she got a call from Phil. He claimed there were going to be 6 hitmen in the crowd at her next performance. Phil said he promised to give a $1 million bonus to the person who finished the job. Interestingly, Ronnie ended up too drunk to perform that night, and the concert was canceled. Immediately after her divorce from Phil, Ronnie tried to bring her career back on track. Even following a tour with Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, she still wasn't able to bring back the fame and success she enjoyed in the 60s. In 1978, she finally moved on from her traumatic marriage and began dating Jonathan Greenfield, a theater worker. They got married in 1982 and are still together today. Although Ronnie moved on from Phil, he didn't stop his problematic behavior. In 2003, he allegedly killed actress Lana Clarkson in his LA mansion. He served a 19-year sentence in prison until he died in January of 2021 from COVID-19. Even though Ronnie had to go through many horrors because of her ex-husband, she still paid tribute to Phil after his death. She wrote on Instagram about how falling in love with Phil was like a fairy tale to her, and their endless love inspired the magical music they made together. Now it's time to hear from you. Is Ronnie and Phil Spector's marriage the worst celebrity marriage in history? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.